Hey there everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video. I'm going to be sharing this card that I made using some Simon Says stamp products, and we're going to be using a technique that I'm calling masked ink blending and stenciling, because we're going to be utilizing masks to not only create some really cool stenciled results, but we're also going to use those masks while we're ink blending alone so that we get a really cool tri-colored effect on this project. In today's video, I am using a new stencil set from Simon Says Stamp called Layering Heart Mandala. This stencil is very unique because it actually comes with the main mandala stencil and then all the masks that are required to section off different parts of the stencil design to create that masked effect. It's a really fun stencil set. So I'm going to pull out some Simon Says Stamp inks. I'm using a Pawsitively saturated ink here to start with the pink blending for my first mask. I'm going to carefully work the color around the edges of the mask and work it towards the center. And so I'm going to have a much more concentrated coloring of that pink along the edges, and then it'll fade out as we go towards the center. After I've removed the mask for our first round of ink blending, I'm going to position the mandala stencil on top of the ink blending that we've just done. I'm going to hold that in place and then reposition the mask that we just worked with over top of the mandala stencil. So we're layering these two stencils together to now mask off the stencil that's underneath. Again, we're going to use our ink in the same color that I did for the blending on the first layer of this shape, and that's going to create a tone-on-tone effect. So as I remove these stencils, you can see we've now got that pretty pink design layered up inside of that cute shape. Moving on to the next mask, I'm going to position this little puffy shape right around where it's supposed to go for the next layer. And I'm just kind of working with the two stencils to figure out the exact perfect placement. Once I have that decided, then I'm going to bring in another color of Simon Says Stamp inks. This happens to be one of their dye inks, and this is deep purple. It's a rich color, and it looked absolutely fabulous with the pink color that I chose for the center. So again, we're going to focus the ink blending around the edges and fade that out as we go towards the center. This is creating a halo, and it's also giving our shapes that separation. I really liked how this worked. I'm going to then reposition the mandala on top so that I can go ahead and ink blend through that stencil and create that tone-on-tone design. So you can see we're really working on building these different sections by utilizing the masks and the main stencil together, and we're creating some really cool effects. I'm going to position my final mask. This is the outer circle layer. This one's a little larger than the project that I'm working on, so I'm going to utilize some masking tape to help hold this stencil in place because I don't want to accidentally pull up on the edges of that circle mask with my blending brushes. For my last color, I've chosen Royal, which is a very deep and vibrant blue. I'm going to work first through the mask and ink blend around the edges, again leaving that highlight around the second layer, around the purple section of our ink blending and stenciling. I'm going to turn my board here so I can get the other end of our panel all blended and really smooth. I really like the Simon Says Stamp Pawsitively saturated inks for ink blending because they literally smooth out and are like butter when you apply them down onto the paper. They work absolutely perfect for these kinds of techniques. All right, so finally, again, we're going to bring in that mandala and carefully work on adding that stenciling right over top of the blending we just applied down. I'm going to make sure I hold this in place so it doesn't shift. You could have added a little bit of tape to help hold it down, but I'm just going to use my fingers. Here we go. Our reveal is almost ready. I'm just going to peel off these final masks and tape, and look at this really cool design we ended up with. This is going to look absolutely fantastic on a card, and I loved the circle edges so much that I'm actually going to pull out one of Simon Says Stamp's nested circle dies and actually trim this panel down so it has a rounded edge. Then I'm going to put it onto an A2 white card, and this will have a really cool edge along the bottom of the card because I'm going to make sure I adhere this with some foam tape on the card so that the bottom white edge of my card base is still visible. So we're going to have this really nice arced border. You'll see here as I lay this down, I'm going to carefully make sure I leave some room along the bottom of the panel there so I get that nice border. I'll just trim off any excess that's hanging off the top of the card with my scissors. These are the Tim Holtz shears. They work great for trimming big pieces like this. So for a greeting, I'm going to pull out a new die set from Simon Says Stamp. This is the Outline Love. It's a very beautiful and delicate die. I'm going to carefully apply some glue stick from Simon Says Stamp over top of this die cut. I find this is sometimes easier than using little dots of adhesive. It doesn't squish out as much when you use the glue stick because you're just basically rubbing glue across the surface of the paper. So I'll glue the white layer that I've cut out from the main word die onto the shadow layer that I cut from black cardstock. I pulled out some Simon Says Stamp rainbow holographic cardstock, and I'm going to cut it from a classic die from Simon Says Stamp. This one's called Mini Hearts Party. It cuts out a bunch of different heart sizes all at once, and so I picked out this section of the holographic paper that is very similar to the colors that I'm using on the card. My two sentiments I popped up on top of my card with some foam tape. That smaller sentiment happens to be from the So Much Love stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. There's a variety of different love greetings that you can pair with some larger words that say love, and then the smaller greetings pair up perfectly to finish the statement. So I used the You to Pieces greeting to pair up with this love die cut. Even though that's not part of the original stamp set that I got the smaller sentiment from, they work out perfectly for other love dies or stamps. I really liked the pairing of these three colors together, but I'm curious, what colors would you use if you were going to create this card? Would you go with the pink, purple, and blue color combination, or would you go with something else? If you have a specific color combination that you'd want to use, let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Please be sure to give it a thumbs up on YouTube if you did, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. I'll be back soon with more inspiration for everybody, but until I see you again, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!